Okay. Well, welcome everyone. We are super excited to have Sandy Rees with us today. And I can't believe this, Sandy. Are we talking about like December? We're talking about Christmas time on today's webinar. Is that what's happening?
That's right. You know, the decorations are already out at a lot of the department stores, so it seems appropriate. We can jump on in and talk about the holidays.
Oh my God. I don't even think we haven't even hit like pumpkin spice latte season yet, but here we are talking about holiday success and the just three things to get you ready for that year-end giving season. So we're super excited. We're going to wait a couple of minutes. We have a number of people just signing on. And so we want to give folks the time to log in. So we'll be starting here shortly. How are things now, Sandy? You're in Tennessee?
Yes, just outside Knoxville. So I'm very close to the Great Smoky Mountains. So for anybody who likes to hike or just be part of nature, like, that's right in my backyard. Very cool.
Love that. We have my in-laws are just outside of Asheville, so we'll be
Mhm.
down there hiking usually once a year, once or twice a year. But it is gorgeous out there, phenomenal. And Get Fully Funded is your organization now. How many folks do you have on staff there?
We are a much bigger team than I thought we would ever be when I got started. There are 14 of us now, and
That's
we take care of nonprofits literally all over the world to help them raise more money.
That's fantastic. Oh, look, we got the chat. So yeah, welcome everyone.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, we got another North Carolina folk in Durham over there. Feel free to use the chat. Asheville, we got someone from Asheville.
Whoop, whoop.
Hey, Shannon. But go ahead and introduce yourself into the chat there. Let us know what organization you're with and where you're from. You got Clearwater to Florida, Clearwater, Florida, and Miami, Florida.
Nice.
Marley and Daphne. Okay, I'm just going to drink a little more. It's still early here on the West Coast.
That's right. It's still morning for you. It's all good.
All right. Phenomenal. Look at this. Albuquerque, North Carolina, South Carolina, New York, Oregon, tons of people here. All right. Well, we're going to get started here because I know that Sandy has a ton of great content that we want to cover. We also want to make sure that we have time for your questions. So we'll let South Africa. How about that? All right, I got to stop looking at that and I got to do my job. There is a question in the queue here. Susanna asked, will we get CFRE credit? I do not believe this. I don't think we submitted this webinar for CFRE credit, Susanna. Some of our other ones, we do that. I don't believe, but we can double check with you. So I'm gonna have Sarah on our team who's working behind the scenes here. Just double check on that. Sarah, if you can sort of reach out to Diana on our team, perhaps even while we're on the webinar today, we might be able to get you an answer back. But if not, we'll follow up with you on that. All right, so let's get started. Before we get started, I just want to let you know that we are recording this webinar and we will be sending out the recording later today. And so be on the lookout for that. And we will also be sending out the slides. So Sandy has graciously provided the slides. That will also be included in that follow-up webinar or follow-up email. So be on the lookout for that. And then as far as questions go, make sure that you're using that Q&A button on the bottom of the Zoom webinar panel. We will kind of keep our eye on the chat, but it's a much better bet that we will answer your question if you use the question or Q&A button. Chat is great to chat amongst the other participants, or if we do sort of a general poll here, we'll use that chat function, but Q&A questions. All right, enough with that. I would be remiss to mention or not mention Bloomerang. For those of you who are unfamiliar, Bloomerang is a donor management and online fundraising platform really focused on helping organizations improve their donor retention. We would love to have the opportunity to chat with you. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about Bloomerang, please feel free to follow that URL at the bottom, bloomerang.co/demo. And one of my colleagues would be more than happy to schedule some time with you to learn more about your fundraising and how we might be able to partner. So enough on that. Sandy, it is my pleasure to just hand it over to you. We are so excited to have you. We were chatting before here. I think Sandy may have been one of, or if not the first webinar guest when we started this thought leadership series many, many years ago. So it's always a pleasure to have you back with us today. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the share and let you sort of load your slides and go ahead and introduce yourself.
Wonderful. I'm so excited, as always, to be back with Bloomerang in partnership. I love seeing that shot of the dashboard there a second ago. What a great tool, and very powerful for helping anybody manage their fundraising and their development efforts. All right, y'all, here's what we're talking about today. So Josh and I were just laughing a little bit ago that it's very hot outside. It's still very much summertime, and we're talking about the holidays. One reason why we're doing that is because you've got to prepare. You've got to be thinking ahead. You never want to be at the last minute trying to raise money, because you're just not going to fully maximize your opportunities. And the nice thing is you can start this week, next week, the week after that, and start to put some things in place that are going to pave the way, make fall and the holiday season so much smoother and so much easier. And I know some of you are like, yep, count me in. I want smooth and easy. Y'all, I like smooth and easy too. So I want to share with you some things that I know work, and it doesn't matter where you are, how big your organization is, how much experience you have in fundraising or not. These are some very practical ideas that are going to work for you. Let's jump in. So whether you want to raise big bucks during the holidays, or just have some more clarity because maybe you're not really sure right now what you need to be doing during the holidays. Maybe you really like planning, or you like the idea of planning. You're not sure where to start. You want to get yourself ready. You're in the right place. And if you say, gosh, I would really just like give me some good tips. Give me 3 good tips I can take away today to blow past my goals. I've got you covered. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So if that's what you're interested in, you're in the right place. Everybody say amen and hallelujah.
Amen and hallelujah.
Right? So this is me. I was looking through the participant list. Some of y'all have been in the world of Sandy Reese and Get Fully Funded, but for those of you who have not, hi, nice to meet you. I am a fundraising nerd. I've been doing this work for about 20 years, and this is good news for you. This means that I have tried a lot of things. I have failed and succeeded. I can give you stories and examples and point you in the right direction on just about everything. I worked for a variety of different organizations until 2005, and that's when I started Get Fully Funded, where we specialize in helping new and small nonprofits learn to raise money so they can fully fund their budget. That sounds really good, yeah? I'm a trainer. I love teaching people shortcuts. I love giving you practical tools that you can take and use right away. I personally don't like trainings where it's very theoretical, but I can't figure out how to apply it. So I don't do it that way. One of my students calls me the bullet point queen. She says, you are great at just breaking stuff down into little pieces anybody can follow. I'm a huge animal lover. I work with a lot of animal causes and a lot of other causes. Founder and host of Fundraising TV. There's a picture of me and my cat Ginger. She's cute. Her nose is a little heart. Isn't that great? Here's my story. I know sometimes you come to a webinar and you're like, well, you're the expert. Of course you know this stuff. I was not born with fundraising skills. Although apparently I've been good on the phone for a long time. I did not sign up for fundraising at Career Day. Some of y'all can relate to that. This is not anything I ever thought that I would fall into, and yet that's what happened. And I think for a lot of us, that is what happens. We find our way into it. We fall into it. We take a weird path, but we find ourselves in a situation where either we're a development director, we're an executive director with fundraising responsibilities, or we're a founder and we have to raise money. We're a volunteer or a board member and we want to help. We just kind of find our way here where all of a sudden fundraising is on our shoulders and we have to figure it out. That was certainly me when I made my way. Actually, my first experience was on a board, and then I made my way into a resource development office at the local rescue mission. What's funny about that is they gave me all the stuff nobody else wanted to do. I ran the thrift store and did the events and volunteers. And it was great. And a year later, I made a move over to the food bank. And that is when the skies opened and the angels sang. And I knew I was doing the work I was supposed to be doing in this world. I bet some of you can relate to that. Like, this work you're doing is your calling. It's very important to you. I raised a lot of money, but it took me about 18 months to figure it out, to get some traction. I threw a lot of spaghetti at the wall that year, just trying to figure out what works, what will stick. For me, I had great intuition, so I tried a lot of things that worked. When I was at the rescue mission, we were raising about $4 million through the mail, especially during the holidays. And so when I got to the food bank, I said, why are we not doing direct mail? And nobody could answer that, so we did. And the last year that I was there, we would get one of these tubs, these big tubs in this picture, every day full of donations from about the middle of October through the middle of January. It was crazy town. I was processing a couple of thousand thank you letters a week. I had a whole volunteer team to come in. It was amazing. It was so much fun. It was all I could get done. We're like 3 of us. That's all we did every day. We're opening envelopes and processing donations and thanking people. But it was so much fun. And that's what I want for you. Whether you're planning to do direct mail or you're using email or you're planning an event, you're planning Giving Tuesday, whatever you're planning, I want it to have that level of success for you. Because number one, it's fun. But number two, it gives you so much money to do more good through your nonprofit. Cool? So that's where we're going. That's the experience of mine that brings me here today to share with you some ideas that I know that work. By the way, today, this is what I do. I sit here at this desk with either earbuds or headphones in most of the day, talking to people all over the world to help them learn fundraising and figure it out. Now, holiday season is, that's prime time. Like for me, I think of fundraising season after about the 1st of September, all the way through the end of the year. And the closer that you get to year end, the hotter your opportunities get. Would you agree with that? Yeah, pretty much. Here's what we saw from clients last year. So students in our programs, our clients, literally had somebody say, we reached our goal early. What do we do now? That was fun. Like, go again. Somebody else said, gosh, we've never raised that much during the holidays. I can't believe we did that. That was amazing. What did they do? Well, they started with what I'm going to share with you today, and then they took it to the next level. You can do this too. Look, this is not rocket science. It's mostly about being prepared. It's mostly about thinking ahead, not waiting till the last minute to try things. I have a lot of really great tips for you, so I am ready to get into the meat here. Now, one of the things that I'm a big believer in, and we pretty much base everything off of this here at Get Fully Funded, and that is when you raise more money, you can change more lives. Look, your nonprofit does not exist to be mediocre. Your organization exists to make a difference in the world. And the more money you have, the bigger difference you can make. We used to laugh when I was at the food bank of like, wouldn't it be amazing if we could work ourselves out of a job? How much food would that take? How much money would that take? What would that look like if everybody in the community had access to food? And we would daydream about that. And to me, that really struck a chord in my heart that I knew that, whoa, I know it's going to take way more money than what I'm raising. And if I can figure this out, we can at least take steps in that direction. And it was fun because our whole team bought into that idea. And so we all became very focused on how can we do more? We don't want to just do what we've been doing or have a 10% increase every year. Like, we want to hit this hard. We want to make a huge difference. And y'all, that was fun. That was a lot of fun to work toward it. So that's where we're starting from today is when you raise more money, you can change more lives. Having a plan makes all of that easier. Now, here's some really common problems that I see among nonprofits who seem to struggle, especially during the holidays. So they're not raising quite as much as they would like. The first thing is they assume that people will give just because it's the holidays. Some of you know what assuming is all about, right? Not a good thing. And yes, people are more generous during the holidays, but just because it's the holiday season doesn't mean that people will wake up one day and go, you know what, I feel like giving some money away today. Where's the yellow pages? I'm going to find a nonprofit. So first of all, some of y'all don't even know what the yellow pages are. Nobody uses that anymore. But the point is, nobody's going to take initiative to come seek out your nonprofit and give you money. You have to ask. You have to tell your story. You have to get in front of them. Asking is not a bad thing. And hopefully by the time we get done today, you're going to see some things that you can do that actually work really well when it comes time to ask. Don't wait to the last minute to plan. That's another huge mistake that I see a lot of folks make, especially with Giving Tuesday. Now, look, I've seen Giving Tuesday be crazy productive for a lot of organizations, but you can't wait till the day of and then just go post on your Facebook page and wait for the money to roll in. It doesn't work that way. You've got to plan ahead of time, and it's best if you get a matching gift, and there's some other things that work, but the point is, don't wait till the last minute on that or an appeal or a last chance campaign or anything, because you're just not going to have enough time to pull it off and do it well. Over asking is another common problem, where you send an appeal through the email and then you send one through the mail, and then it's Giving Tuesday. You're asking. And there's no balance with the feel good, and it's exhausting for your donors. They will start to suffer donor fatigue, and then they leave. And then your retention number on your Bloomerang dashboard looks crazy. It does not look good at all. Another common problem that I see is bad asks or begging. So what is a bad ask? It's one that is unclear. It does not get to the point. It does not show the donor how their money is going to make a difference, how it's going to impact others. There's no point to it. One of my favorite bad examples is from an organization that I love, but they sent out this letter one year during the holidays, and it started with, "Thank you so much for your support this year." And I immediately thought, this is an update. And I almost trashed it. So it started off with a thank you, and then it went to, "Oh, it's been a bad year, but we're hanging in there. We need your support now more than ever. We hope you'll be really generous. Thanks again." I'm like, what is this? Is it an update? Is it supposed to be an annual report? Is it a thank you? Is it an appeal? Like, I can't tell what it is, and there was no clear ask. So that was a problem. Okay, so if you have made any of these mistakes, here's what I want you to do. I want you to just sort of mentally draw a line in the sand and say, well, okay, so we did that. I'm going to do it different this year. I'm not going to wait to the last minute. I'm going to make sure my asks are good. I'm going to map this all out. Okay, so just draw a line in the sand and say, I'm going to do it better. Because here's the thing, y'all. And yes, I am from the South. Should have told you that, because you're going to hear the accent pop up a couple of times. Look at the calendar. So here we are in August. It's still summer. Fundraising season starts in early September, and you can start raising money. And depending on, I mean, you can raise money anytime, but when kids start to go back to school, people get back in routines, and it's easier to raise money because it's easier to get their attention. And the closer it gets to the end of the year, the more you get into prime fundraising time, and you don't want to miss that. In fact, I should really change this, and let me just go ahead and do it. Instead of "you are here," how about "start now" in August? Right? Got to start here so that you have plenty of time to plan and get your thoughts together and refine your strategy and make sure you have the right words, the right copy, the right images, the right everything. That's when you're going to be more successful in raising money. Now, let's think about this. Who likes chocolate cake? You can type in the chat and let me know if you like chocolate cake. Now, I love chocolate cake. I would definitely like a piece of that chocolate cake right now. Some of you are popping right in. Yes, me please, chocolate cake. Then here's the thing. If we want to eat chocolate cake, I don't know about you, but I don't have any chocolate cake right now. So if I want to eat that cake, there's some stuff I've got to do first. Like, I got to choose a recipe, or I got to go to the store and buy a box mix. I got to decide when I'm going to make it, because I'm kind of busy right now. Might have to schedule it for later tonight or tomorrow. I might have to go buy a few more ingredients. I'm going to have to mix those ingredients up and bake the cake and ice it. Grab a fork, and then I can eat the cake. So just because I want the cake right now, I can't eat the cake right now. You guys follow me? And it's the same with your fall and holiday fundraising. If you want to raise money during the fall, during the holidays, at year end, you can't wait until that gets here, because you've got ingredients to gather and you got a recipe to follow. You got stuff you've got to do first. Hopefully that makes sense. And here's the thing. If you start early, you're doing yourself a huge favor. If you start in August, starting to get things ready, you're giving yourself time in case something pops up, and it does, right? We have plans, life gets in the way. And I said this to a client the other day. If you start mid-August, then if something happens and you need to slide a few days, you've got the grace period to do that. It's going to be pretty easy to slide a little bit, and it doesn't throw your whole schedule off. Okay. And there's lots of other benefits to starting early, and we're going to talk about those in just a second. Now, I just want to put a really fine point on this for those of you who are new about what good fundraising is and isn't. I run across a lot of people who think fundraising it's just about begging. It's just about, like, I heard somebody say one time, oh, I'm a professional beggar. No, let's not look at it that way. Good fundraising is donor focused. It's all about understanding that the donor is the source of the funding that helps you do your work. Your donor is your partner in getting the work done. And if you can shift your thinking and start to see them that way, they're a partner, not just a checkbook, not an ATM, not just a credit card, you're going to raise more money. So look, if y'all don't get anything else out of this today, then take that nugget. Your donors are your partners in accomplishing the mission of your organization. Good fundraising is transformational for the donor and the charity. While yes, you have internal goals that you need to reach and you need to raise money for various things, giving feels really good to the donor. And honestly, when people give very large donations, that is very transformational for them. It makes them feel good. And they're like, gosh, I want to do that again. Okay. So keep this in mind, that good fundraising is all about your donors and your donor experience. This is something I want to challenge you to really think about. What does it feel like to be a donor to your organization? What does the ask look like? What happens after they give? Are you taking good care of them? Are you communicating with them often? Or do they not hear from you until you ask again? So we want to keep this in mind. Because here's big nugget, hint, hint. The better job you do of taking care of your donors, the more likely they are to give again and give bigger. And maybe even give multiple gifts before the end of the year. Okay. So it's all about taking care of them. It's not begging. Please give. If you don't give, all is lost. We'll have to close our doors. Even if that's true for you, I would not use that strategy. Don't beg. Don't think about arm twisting. We don't hit people up. Fundraising is not a contact sport. If you use that language, then to me, that tells me we've got a mindset issue that we need to work on and shift a little bit, because it's hitting people up, begging, arm twisting, tells me that you're coming at this from the wrong place. You're very focused on the money and the transaction of getting the money instead of the donor and the relationship. It's like the goose and the golden egg. If you take care of the goose, the golden eggs are going to keep coming. Okay. So let's get our heads in the right place about our donors, because there's going to be a lot here that you need to do. This is why you need to start early, is so that you have time to take really good care of your donors before you start asking. All right, one more thing that we can take a look at. So this is the fundraising cycle according to Sandy. There's 3 parts to it. Over in the upper right, we ask people to give. If they do, they swing on down to the bottom where we thank them. And hopefully you're thanking people well. By the way, this is another place I see a lot of nonprofits mess up, because they have terrible thank yous that are sterile and don't make the donor feel good. And it's a total wasted opportunity. If you thank people well, you're actually building the relationship and you're swinging this cycle on around. So once you thank people well, there's usually a period of time that goes by, and then you need to update them and let them know what happened to their donation and what the rest of the story is. And if you do these 2 parts well, then when you go back to ask for the next gift, you're more likely to get a yes. Now, what does that have to do with where we are now in year end? Well, if you're going to start asking, which we try to get a lot of our clients asking early to mid-October for the first ask, and you can do it again on Giving Tuesday and again on year end. Now is a really good time to focus on the thank you part and the update part. Okay, so there's things you can do now to make sure that you're working on the part of the cycle where retention happens, so that when you do ask again, people feel great and they're excited and they're ready to give. Hopefully that is making sense. All right, let me stop just a second. We'll check in on the questions. All right, couple of questions here, and then Josh will help me keep an eye on these as we go. So Lisa's asking, do you still recommend direct mail? Direct mail is not dead. You may have heard some people say, oh, it doesn't work anymore. Not dead, but here's the thing. It's all about what your donors want. Do your donors prefer to give through the mail, or do they prefer to hit a donate button online and give? It's all about what they want to do. It has nothing to do with what you want to do. It has nothing to do with what you have in your budget. It's about what your donors want. If you do want to send through the mail, there are absolutely tips and tricks that work on how to word your appeal and what your letter should look like and what should be on the reply card and all of that. There's an awful lot. And actually, there's so many resources out there that can help you do that. But direct mail is definitely not dead. Sharon said, we reached a lot of new donors through a fundraising event in July. Is it too early to start including them? No, but what you need to be doing now is a whole lot of updates and thank yous to those people. Because if you're thinking, well, we may send out an appeal in late September, that's totally fine. That's plenty of time that's gone by. Time is weird. I was just sharing this with a donor yesterday, or with, not a donor, sorry, a client. Time is weird right now. And like, none of us even remember what we ate for lunch yesterday, much less who we gave to last month, or what we did enjoy, a couple of months ago. So if you're doing a good job with the updates and the communications, you're going to be totally fine to ask those people again. All right. Oh my goodness. So y'all are doing a great job of popping in with questions. Let me answer one more, I think, or Josh, unless you see another one.
Yeah, well, there's two on thank yous. So you see there's the one from
Yep.
anonymous attendee on about stereo thank yous, and then there's another one from Alexandria on what does a special thank you look like? So maybe
Yep.
maybe a couple thank yous.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So I do a lot of donation page tests for clients where I literally hit their website and make a donation. And so first of all, I'm stunned at how many have no thank you page. So there should be, after you give, there should be a page that pops up and says, thank you so much for your donation. You're our hero. You're making this and this possible. Doesn't have to be real long, but there's some really important pieces that should be there. And then there should be an email in my inbox by the time I get over there. What a sterile one looks like is the subject line literally says transaction receipt. Okay, a donation is not a transaction. And so that language, transaction and receipt, put me off right away. I don't, like, now I'm thinking, you've taken this beautiful activity of giving and reduced it to the same kind of thing or the same experience that I get when I go to the grocery store. So a good thank you is going to be short and sweet. It's concise. It makes the donor the hero. It connects their donation to the lives that are going to be changed. It might include a photo or a video. It just makes people feel great. Okay. And if we had time, I could show you some good examples, but start with that. Like, the subject line needs to be warm. The text needs to be warm. It needs to be personalized. It needs to say, Dear Sandy, not Dear Constituent, Dear Customer, Dear Donor. It needs to say, Dear Sandy, you just made our day. Your gift is going to help us feed 10 seniors this holiday season with an emergency food box. You are our hero, and together we're going to end hunger, at least for a short time, for these seniors. Now you're warming my heart, and this is good. All right, let me move on. We could talk the next half hour about good thank yous, but get it that this is important. By the way, here's another nugget. If you have not tested your own donate button in a while, I would recommend you go do that. Because if you're learning more and more and more, what you know now about how to do a good thank you might be different than when you set it up, or maybe somebody else set it up. So you may want to go just donate $1 to your own organization so you can see, what does the thank you page look like? What does the thank you receipt look like? What happens next? You'll learn a lot. You'll put yourself in the donor's shoes, and then you can make sure you're giving them a great experience. Okay, here's one more way to look at this, and then I want to get into some practical tactical. So for a lot of people, this analogy makes a lot of sense. They really like it. So as we think about relationships with donors, I want you to imagine that with every donor, you have a relationship account. You can think of it as this little green piggy bank. With every single donor, every time you make them feel good, you're making a deposit. Whether you send them a story that warms their heart, you share a video that makes them smile, you share something that makes them go, oh my gosh, this is cute. And they're showing other people, whether it's in their family, their friends, in their office, whatever. Every time you make them feel good, basically, you're making a deposit. Okay? Every time you ask for something, you're making a withdrawal. So if you ask them for money, you ask them to volunteer, you ask them to support your Amazon Smile, you ask them to like your Facebook page, you ask them to get a ticket to your event, you're asking them for an in-kind donation. Doesn't matter. Every time you ask, you're making a withdrawal. Now, I want you to think about this for a minute. You don't have to be an accountant to know that if there's more withdrawals than deposits, that account is going to drop to zero, maybe go negative, and it's going to close. And that is what causes donor retention numbers to be low, is people feel over-asked, they feel like a number in your database, they leave because they don't think they don't think they matter. They don't think their gift matters. This you can fix. This you can easily fix. So here's one of those places as you start to think about what you want to do between now and New Year's Eve. We want to make more deposits than withdrawals. What does that look like? Let me show you. So I have 3 strategies I want to share with you today of things that you can start to do now and keep going. You can actually keep going forever with these, but definitely now until you get through holiday fundraising, that are going to help you make sure that you're keeping that little green piggy bank at least with a positive balance in it. So strategy number 1 is about warming up donors. You want people to feel engaged and connected to your organization now, so that when you start asking, they don't feel like, oh, here they come again with their hand out asking for money. Because let me tell you, as a donor, that feels really crappy. By the way, if you're a fundraiser and you're not a donor to another organization, you should give to other organizations so you can see what it feels like as a donor and see what kind of donor experience they're giving you. It'll give you great ideas for how you want to be with your donors. So what does it look like to warm up donors? Well, first of all, lots of warm touches. A warm touch in our world is anything positive that you do with your donors, whether it's a thank you phone call, it's an update, it's a video, it's an inside look at the organization, it's answering their call when they reach out to you with a question. It's a birthday card, it's a holiday card, it could be anything, it's a lot of different things, but it's specifically to make them feel good. There's no ask in it. No ask, none. Feel good. So you need lots of warm touches. That's part of what warms people up. Your newsletter can be a warm touch if you do it right. Now, most nonprofit newsletters are crap. They're not worth they're not worth the time to open. Number 1, because most people are reading them on their phone and they're full of text, long paragraphs. And let me tell you, if I get an email and I'm trying to look at it on my phone, which over half people do, and it's a wall of text, I'm not reading it. I'm going to hit the delete button right then. If it's short, I'm more likely to read it. So just keep that in mind. Your newsletter can be a warm touch, but it's got to be a good newsletter. You got to think about what you're putting in it, not just, oh, we hired a new janitor. Oh, we got this award. No. It needs to be about what your programs are about. It needs to be about the lives that are being changed. You have to remind people that they're the heroes. You have to use hero language in all of these warm-up activities that you're doing. And hero language is like this. We couldn't do this work without you. You are the reason that seniors have access to food. Because of you, these children will get tutoring after school. Thanks to you, these families are moving into new homes. You see how that works? It's all meant to shine the spotlight on the donor and make them the hero. In short, it is all about making people feel really good. So here's what that really means. It means you've got to have consistent, warm communications. Now, I know that you're busy and you have more on your plate than you can get done. And I know that sometimes communications falls to the bottom of the list and sometimes it slides and doesn't get done. And you meant to send that newsletter out last month. And then when you go look at it, it's actually been 6 months since you sent out a newsletter. If that's you, let's get out of the blame and shame and judgment. Just draw a line in the sand and say, I understand now how important this is. And I'm going to make it a priority. Going to get it done. More stories, more photos, more video. Video is powerful, y'all. And the nice thing about it is you can use your cell phone. Like, look at this one. This is a year old. I have like 5 cameras on this phone, which is crazy. I can shoot some really crisp video on that phone. It just does not have to be professionally done. I had a client a couple of years ago that she said, I don't want to be on the video. I said, that's totally fine. You don't have to be on it. She runs a horse rescue in New Hampshire. I said, grab a video, maybe 15 seconds or so, of these big horses lumbering into the barn for dinner. She did. She shared it. Her people loved it. They wanted more. So she does a lot of that kind of video now. So it doesn't have to have you in it if you don't want to be in it. But more stories, more photos, more video, because that's what connects donors with the work. And remember, that's the important piece. I also want to challenge you to invite donors to communicate with you. So what that can simply look like is at the bottom of a thank you, put, by the way, if you have any questions, please feel free to call me at, and then put your phone number in there, or hit reply to this email and I'll be happy to answer your question. Just invite them to connect with you, invite them to respond. Now, I know some people go, oh no, I don't think I could handle all those emails that are going to come back in. You're not going to get that many emails. You're going to get maybe 1 out of 100 who's going to call you. You're going to get maybe 5 or 10 out of 100 who would hit reply. You're not going to get that many. But here's what happens when you invite people to connect. It shows that you're open to that you respect them. You're being open, and there's something trustworthy about that. It's very connecting and engaging when you invite their communication back. So I highly recommend you do that. All right, how about some ninja ideas on this one before we move on? So here we are in August. It's actually not too late to do a mid-year update. And what that looks like is, hey, here's what we've accomplished, like the top 3 things we've done so far this year or in the first 6 months. And you, donor, helped make this possible. I have a lot of clients who do this in a postcard. Gosh, I probably have a couple right here. Yep, here's one. You made this possible. Thank you. It's just a postcard. It's not a big deal, with a little handwritten note on it. You can do stuff like that now. If you don't want to mail it, you can do it email. You can make it into an infographic, and then it's really easy to pop it into an email or put it on social media or put it on your website, and you can include that as sort of an educational piece of here's what we're doing, but also as a you help make this possible. We couldn't do without you. So think about a mid-year update. Think about a thank you video. Video is hot, and the thank you could be very simple. It could be you saying, I just wanted to take a minute and say thank you. It's been a crazy year, but knowing that you are there with us every time we're feeding a child, every time we're packing a box for a senior, every time we're delivering produce, gosh, it just gives us hope that we are making a difference in the community. And because of you, we know we are. Something probably worded better than that, but you get the gist. Thank you video is hot. Now, one other thing that you can do, if you really want to nail this, pick up the phone and call your best donors and thank them. You may not be able to get a hold of everybody. You may not even have phone numbers for everybody, but the ones that you do, call them just to say thank you. Most people are blown away by a thank you call, and it can lead to some conversations where you may have a donor that says, gosh, we just love the work you do. Is there anything else we can do to help? Ding, 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 ding. There's your matching gift prospect. There's somebody who might give you money for a matching gift that you could use for an appeal or Giving Tuesday or something else. So just by taking the time to call those people, you may uncover some donors who want to do more, and that's very, very worth your while. Okay, so that's strategy number 1. Renee was asking in the chat, really using that invitation and mass mailings? Yeah, trust me, you'll be fine. And look, Renee, if you get a couple hundred people who respond, that is a beautiful problem to have, because that tells me your audience is crazy engaged. I doubt you'll have that many. And there's really no better use of your time than talking to a donor. If they've got questions, talk to them. It's a beautiful thing to do. All right, strategy number 2 is about mapping it out. So what is it? Everything. Map out your asks, your communications, your social media, your Giving Tuesday campaign. Like, map everything out from here to the rest of the year. Because if you don't know where you're going, any road will get you there. If you know when you want to get an appeal in the mail or in the email, you can back up a production schedule so that you know when you need to start thinking about what story you want to share. If you don't have a map, if you don't have a calendar, this is going to be really hard. I encourage you to look at how many times you're planning to ask for money between now and New Year's Eve. And the nice thing about the holidays is you can ask more often than you think you can, but you also want to think about, when are you going to ask, and what is the timing like around certain holidays? Because timing is really important around American Thanksgiving and around Giving Tuesday and around Christmas. I mean, whether you celebrate these holidays or not, the timing is important. And then you also want to look at the map or at the calendar and say, well, what happens when you're not asking? What are we doing when we're not asking for money? Because honestly, that is where the success of your fundraising happens, in those times when you're not asking. Now, here's a ninja trick that we use with all of our clients. It works beautifully, and it's called the 3-to-1 ratio. And the 3-to-1 ratio basically says that you can ask as often as you want, as long as in between those asks, you have 3 good, warm, juicy, melt their heart communications. So it can't just be like, we're going to slap anything in an email and send it. No, this has got to be really strategic and well thought out. It makes the donor go, oh man, gosh, they do great work. I love this organization. So if you're planning on an appeal, and by the way, this is a schedule that we use with a lot of people, an appeal mid-October, Giving Tuesday, which is the end of November, year end or last chance right at the end of December, that'll totally work. As long as in between there, we've got 3 or 4 things that are happening in November and in December that are designed to make the donor feel good. Okay, does that make sense? And really what you're doing here is you're putting the focus where it needs to be, on the relationship and valuing the donor as a person, not just as a source of revenue. Now, I want to give you a little tease here. This is what we call our 120-day fall foolproof fundraising calendar. And it takes you all the way through the 4 months that comprise fundraising season. And what we do, and I recommend you do this with yours, we color code it so that you can see where the asks are. The asks are in green, by the way. You can see the asks. The non-asks, or the feel-good stuff, is all in pink because it's designed to appeal to the heart. So what we want to do is make sure that there's more pink than green, and we are good to go. And you can literally count them. Is there 3-to-1? If not, we need to add another feel-good. Now, this calendar also shows marketing, because I want to see, what are we doing to raise awareness? How are we bringing new people into the flock? And that's what the yellow ones are. By the way, I'm going to tell you in a minute how you can get a copy of this calendar. The nice thing about it is we have it broken down and detailed. So if you want to do Giving Tuesday, it'll tell you when you need to start planning it, and when you need to be working on an image, and when you need to be recruiting ambassadors to help, and the whole thing all the way through the end of the year. It's a pretty cool tool. All right, let's move to strategy number 3. And before I do that, let me answer. So Megan had also put this in the chat. And those of you who are putting questions in the Q&A, hang on, we're going to get to those. So Megan said, do general emails like Happy Thanksgiving or holiday wishes count? They sure can, if they meet that warm, juicy, heart-melting criteria. So if it's basically just, hey, thank you from XYZ organization, But if it's something really awesome, which by the way, one of the things that we recommend and we've seen great success with is a really warm or a funny thank you video that you literally send on Thanksgiving Day when people are celebrating. So whether you're in Canada or the US, if you're in the US or raising money in the US, this is really important. You send it on Thanksgiving Day, which seems kind of like, really? But where are people on Thanksgiving Day? If you're not in the kitchen, you're sitting on your couch trying to avoid your family, right? And you're checking your email to see which of your favorite stores have big sales, right? So an email is going to pop up there and you're going to look at it and you're going to smile and you're going to share it with your other family members, which is really cool. There's a playlist on my YouTube channel that has a whole bunch of thank you videos. So if you want to go find that, you can get some really good ideas of what those can look like. All right, let's look at strategy number 3, and then we're gonna I want to share a resource with you, and then we're gonna answer some more questions. Jennifer Rice, you just made my day. The single most helpful webinar I've ever attended. Woo! And there's more. We're not done yet. Hang on. So strategy number 3 is about COVID proofing your plans. Now, here's the thing about this. Last year, this was really important because we were all still kind of a little on edge of what's going to happen. Are there going to be variations of the virus? If I plan something in person, is it going to get canceled? This year, I think we have a little more confidence and we've learned a lot in the last 2 years. However, here's how you can COVID proof your plans. Number 1, if you are planning something that's in person, you got to always have a virtual option, because now that people have gotten used to virtual things, they kind of expect it. They kind of feel like, yeah, I don't really want to be in a crowd of people. I want to be able to just watch it on Zoom in my living room. So you got to think about, if you're doing something in person, how are you going to add a virtual option to it? So just think about that. Be sure that you are leveraging online fundraising. And here's what I mean by that. You actually can do more online than you think you can. I tend to be a conservative fundraiser. I don't like over asking. I like my donors to feel like that they're well cared for. And so I'm very conscious of time when I'm doing things through the mail. And I like to space things out several weeks apart. Online, time is much different. It flows differently. You can't even remember things that you saw on Facebook yesterday or what was in your email last week, much less, a couple of months ago. And so you can actually push things closer together, and people tolerate that pretty well. And the other thing about Facebook is not all of your people are seeing everything you post. So you can actually post more than you normally would because not everybody's seeing it, right? So you can do more than you think. And that's one really great way to leverage online fundraising, is just to add a couple of extra things in. Now, when you do that, I'm hoping that you have everything mapped out on a calendar. And if I were your coach, I would say, let's look at your calendar. And I want to see what else are you doing in between those asks. And let's talk about the strategy of what you're adding in. So don't just add something in because you can. Like, oh, Sandy said we can ask a lot. Let's do that. What's your strategy behind that? Who's your audience for this? And will this work? So literally was talking to a client the other day. We're mapping out their schedule of things through the mail because their donors are very direct mail responsive. They're just starting to build their email list, and they have a big following on Facebook. So we have 2 things we're wanting to do in September. And I said, well, the obvious thing is do the one thing through the mail, and that targets that audience. Do the other thing just on Facebook. You're going to have a little tiny bit of crossover, but not much. So you're segmenting your audience. It'll work. It'll be totally fine. So you can do that as well. Now, here's the most important thing. You ready? Here's your big nugget about COVID proofing your plans. This also works if you're feeling a little nervous about the economy, a little nervous about what might be coming next in the world, in your messaging. So when you're talking about why you need the donor support, highlight the sense of urgency. And let me tell you, there has to be a sense of urgency. If not, you've got to find it. So in some cases, like a food pantry that says we need to provide Thanksgiving boxes for 100 families, there is a built-in sense of urgency there because we want these families to have this food 2 days before Thanksgiving. So there is a deadline, right? For other organizations, maybe there's not a clear-cut deadline, so you have to find a way to create a sense of urgency. Now, if you're looking at last chance appeals, so that last week of the year between Christmas and New Year's, this one's pretty straightforward, although in a sense it doesn't make any sense. But trust me on this, this works. It works to say, this is your last chance to give this year. That's true. So this is from the Asheville Humane Society, and I chose this example because I love the image. That is a beautiful photo of a dog, because the dog almost has this look of expectation and plea on its face. Like, I almost can imagine that dog saying, please, please. And then they use the words last chance. They did this in black and white, so it's a little more stark, and they had a countdown timer on it. And then you can see there's one short paragraph and then the donate now button. That is a very powerful email right there. And they sent that out, I think it was like a day or two before New Year's Eve. And what's going to happen with an email like this, it's very psychological. People are going to see that and go, oh, last chance, got to make a gift. Click that donate now button. Whew, okay, I made it before the timer ran out. See, the thing about last chance emails, that last chance campaign, the end of the year, some folks think, oh, we need to remind people to give because of the tax benefit. But the truth is that people who are giving online are probably giving $25, $50, $100, although you may have donors who are giving more. But those people who are giving $25, $50, $100, they're not itemizing. So if you're in the US, I'm talking to you right now, they're not itemizing, which means they don't need the tax benefit. That doesn't matter to them. So it's more the psychological sense of urgency. I've seen other people say, we have a waiting list we're trying to eliminate before the first of the year, or winter is coming, we got to be prepared to do X, Y, or Z, please help us. So you have to find that sense of urgency. And one of the easiest ways to do this is to think about what will happen if you meet your goal. What's the positive that gets to happen? How are lives changed? And what will happen if you don't? What happens if you don't meet the goal? By the way, don't make this goal monetary. It's not a $10,000 goal. Please help us meet our $10,000 goal. No, don't do that, because it doesn't mean anything to your audience. Instead, what I want you to do is say, please help us provide food boxes to 150 seniors. Please help us provide tutoring to 200 kids this next semester. Focus on the mission and the work you're doing, because that matters to people, not your arbitrary goal. All right, hopefully that is helpful. Now, let me share a resource, and then I want to answer some questions. So there you go. There's three strategies for you to warm up your donors, map it all out, and COVID-proof your plans. And if you get your head wrapped around these things, you start building a calendar, you start thinking about what you need to do now so your donors are ready, you're going to raise more money this holiday season. The end. You just will. One of the ways I know is because I've walked so many people through using these ways of thinking, these strategies, these tools, and they always raise more money before the end of the year, always. So I know this stuff works. So what do you need to do now? I'd recommend you go back through your notes from today, circle your best ideas, and get some time on the calendar next week to start implementing. Because if you don't do that, chances are really good you're not going to take any action. If you're real excited about this and you're like, wait, what about this? What about that? How does this work? How does that? You guys, I could talk for a while about this. And in fact, I'm going to talk about this for a couple of days. I want to share this resource with you real quick. And it is a 2-day workshop that I'm leading in September called the Inspired Fundraising Retreat online. And it is 2 days of digging into that calendar that I showed you a minute ago. You get that calendar, that detailed color-coded calendar, and then I explain the strategy behind each piece, and you have a chance to take the template and start filling it out yourself. That calendar is so cool, you can take it and just run with it as is, and it would work for you. But if you want to customize it, you totally can. What I'm going to do in these 2 days is help you master the messaging. So I showed you that one example of the dog. I have dozens of other examples that I'll be sharing at Inspired Fundraising Retreat. We're going to talk about specifically the timing around Thanksgiving in November, and when to thank donors, and should you do a thankathon, and what does that look like, and what about a video, and show me a good example, and What about Christmas? What about Hanukkah? We're going to look at all of that and map it all out so you know exactly what you need to do. We're going to talk about thanking people so well that they share what you send. So those of you who are asking about samples of thank yous, we're going to look at that. We're going to look at what does a bad one look like? What does a really good one look like? I love sharing examples. And I'm going to have people who are going to pop in and share their story of what they did last year and why it worked. So you can hear from real people who are running real organizations about this. And then, of course, you get the 120-day foolproof holiday fundraising plan. And that's that color-coded beast that I shared with you. So it's September 22nd and 23rd. Bloomerang is one of our sponsors. We're pretty excited to have them. Here's how you get tickets. Go to getfullyfunded.com/bloomerang and you will find the registration page. Tickets are normally $197. We have taken $20 off because you're here today, so it's $177. If that seems like a lot, remember that's spread across 2 days. You're getting a lot of stuff that's basically done for you, like that calendar, and you should be able to raise an extra $177 at some point during the holiday season. I'm hoping a whole lot more. I'd like to see a couple extra zeros on that for you. But you should make that back, raise that back tenfold, if not more. We have a couple of bonuses for you. I've got a last chance appeal swipe file. So if you like the idea of doing an appeal between Christmas and New Year's, but you're not sure, like, what does that look like? We are big on swipe files around here. And basically that's curated examples that we have gone through, and we make them all available to you. So you get that one if you get your ticket before the end of the day on next week on the 18th. And then also for those of you who are like, I'm in, let me do this right now, go ahead and grab your ticket. I've got matching gift scripts for you just to say thank you for making a quick decision. And what that is 3 different scripts of ways that you can word your request when you're asking somebody for that matching gift. All right, so let's go answer a couple of questions and we'll jump in. Maggie's asking, will those sessions be recorded? Yes, absolutely. So if you want to grab your ticket and then just grab the recording later, you totally can do that. We do shoot the whole thing from a professional studio, so the quality is really good. And people tell us all the time, we've been doing this for years, and they tell us that they went into it a little hesitant because it's a 2-day virtual retreat, but they come out going, that was amazing, and they love it. And Jennifer's asking, is it CFRE eligible? And unfortunately, this one is not. Not so much. What you will get, though, is a whole lot of street smart, very practical advice that you can use right away. All right, Josh, which questions should we answer?
Oh, so many questions here. Where to start? So I think Lois asked about retention rate. I think we talked a little bit about that and what's a good retention rate, right? And Sandy, I don't know if you have some thoughts on that. I know the average, right, hovers somewhere around 18 to 20% for that first-time donor. But I know working with you and Bloomerang, right, you're able to sort of get that up. But do you have is there a magic number that you share with folks, or is it just continuous improvement?
I'm pretty sure that don't the studies show that retention across the board runs about 47%? For donors in the fundraising effectiveness studies.
Yeah.
And that's definitely something you can work on. So when I'm teaching about fundraising planning, that's actually something we build into the fundraising plan, is looking at what is your retention rate and how do you get it up 5%? And then how do you get it up another 5%? We have a lot of organizations that have like 60 and 70% retention rates. And it's because they're focused on donors as partners, and they make the communications and the donor experience a priority. So just for those of you who are not sure that that's worth it, it really is.
Yeah, I mean, that's I think that's a great point. It is 40% average, and then the repeat retention is 60, and that first time is 20. So, you know, if you're somewhere in there, right? But it's all about focusing on that. So that's a great one. What do you suggest, advice, strategies do you have for a one-person fundraising team? So if they can take one thing away from today, right? They can't do it all. What's the best piece of advice there for a small shop?
There's like 6 things that I would recommend if you're a one-person shop. Okay, so the most help you can give yourself if you're a one-person shop is to start early, because the more time you give yourself, the more you can put in place. The second thing is systematize everything you can. What do I mean by that? What I mean is, if you are trying to recruit volunteers, put a volunteer packet together, figure out what the common questions are and answer them on your website. Put a form on the website so people can fill it out. If you're reinventing the wheel every time somebody says, oh, I want to volunteer, you're wasting a ton of time. So the more you can systematize things and use your tools, use your automation, it will serve you very, very well. Get help. So start thinking about the things that only you can do and the things that somebody else could do. Recruit a volunteer, an intern, outsource it, I don't care, something, and let that person do that part. If they can do the whole thing, great. If they can do part of it, that still helps you. You can't do everything. And the more that you can manage your time well, prioritize, start early, systematize, get help, the more you can get done, the more you can raise. And then all of a sudden you're going to be in a position where you're like, oh, now I can hire a very part-time person to come in and start helping me.
That's some really great advice. Before we hop into the next question, I do want to sort of fire off a quick poll while we still have people. So Sandy has some great resources here, and we're super excited to be sponsoring her virtual event. But Sarah, if you want to sort of pop up the poll, if you'd like additional information, maybe you just want to learn more about getting. Sorry, Sandy, I'm screwing up the name of your organization, Get Fully Funded, to learn more about partnering with Sandy and her team of 14 amazing fundraising experts. Feel free to go ahead and respond to this poll. If you'd like to learn a little bit more about Bloomerang and how Bloomerang can help you with your year-end fundraising, whether that's looking for an online fundraising tools, just helping to improve your donor retention rate, or just get organized, right? With maybe you're using spreadsheets for your donor database. We'd love to have a conversation and learn a little bit more about that. So we'll keep that poll up here for a couple more minutes. Let's see here. I think do you have time for one more question, Sandy?
Sure.
All right, let's do one more question. Let's see here. All right, so here's a good one. They're all good, so it's a tough choice here, but if you're already sending donors a monthly email update and a newsletter, how do you avoid that over communication issue when you add in a fundraising campaign? We talked a little bit about this, but is there anything that you add?
Yep. So to answer that, I want to ask the question, is there someone you follow online that posts every day and you're curious to see what they have to share every day?
That's a great, I love this. It's like,
right?
Yes.
If it's right, whether it's a celebrity, maybe it's a dog trainer, doesn't matter. And they post every day and you're like, oh, I want to see what they have to say every day. The reason they can do that is because they're sharing valuable information to you. You value it. And so you're anxious to see it. As long as what you're sharing with donors is of interest to them, you could actually email them every week and they wouldn't mind.
Yeah.
You may not want to do that, but that's how you want to think about this. So it's not about you emailing something that they perceive as crap. It's about you getting inside their head and understanding what they value. And then as long as you're sending valuable stuff to them, you can do it as often as you want to. It's all good.
Yeah, and the videos, I love how the videos, I think there was another question about they can't show their constituents, that happens a lot with healthcare and healthcare related organizations, but that doesn't mean that you can't talk about the board members or the staff or the volunteers and why they're passionate, and so weaving video in, and there's just so many great things there. So really, really good point there, Sandy.
Yep.
All right, team. Well, thank you for the time today, Sandy. Some really, really great tips. We do have a webinar next week called End of the Year Appeal Writing Made Easy. I am gonna sort of drop, oh, look, Sarah already did it in there. So if you would like to join us for that webinar next week, go ahead and click that link in the chat. Otherwise, Sandy, you have a wonderful day. And for all of you out there, thank you for joining us. And we wish you all the best with your fundraising success and getting ready for the year end. Have a great one, y'all. Take care.